In a remote village, there was an abandoned laboratory that no one had dared to approach for decades. Rumors spoke of horrific experiments conducted there, experiments aimed at exploring and controlling the limits of the human mind. But the experiments went out of control, leading to unimaginable disasters. One day, a young man named Karim decided to explore the laboratory himself. Karim was a journalist in search of the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. He had heard many frightening stories about the lab, but he didn't fully believe them. He wanted to see with his own eyes whether those tales were real or just myths. As Karim entered the lab, he felt something strange enveloping the place. The walls were cracked and covered in dust, the floor littered with scattered papers and abandoned equipment. The air was charged with something indescribable, as if time had stopped the moment the scientists left the lab. While exploring the lab, Karim found a hidden room behind a false wall. Inside, there was a massive machine resembling a chair, connected to strange devices and endless wires. Karim approached the chair and noticed a journal beside it. He opened the journal and began to read. Experiment number 73. Memory and fear stimulation. Objective: to surpass the limits of the human mind. Results: total failure. Subject: entered a state of permanent insanity. A shiver ran down Karim's spine. Suddenly, he felt a cold hand on his shoulder. He turned quickly, but no one was there. He thought he was imagining things, but fear began to creep into his heart. Still, he insisted on continuing to explore the place. As he got closer to the strange machine, it started working automatically, as if it had sensed his presence. He didn't have time to think. He found himself sitting on the chair involuntarily. Suddenly, the devices activated, filling the room with a loud noise. Images began flooding his mind, distorted faces, screams, and places he didn't recognize, yet they seemed eerily familiar. Then, darkness surrounded him. Karim no longer knew whether he was awake or dreaming, trapped between reality and nightmare. He saw himself imprisoned in a cell, hearing footsteps slowly approaching him. The experiment was digging deep into his mind, forcing him to face his deepest fears. But the worst was yet to come. Karim woke up the next day on the lab floor, drenched in sweat and trembling. He quickly fled the lab, but he was not the same person anymore. The experiment had left an indelible mark on his mind. He could no longer distinguish between reality and nightmares, and he heard voices and whispers haunting him everywhere he went. Karim began living in constant fear, unable to return to his previous life. The horrific experience had changed him forever. He tried repeatedly to tell others what had happened to him, but no one believed him. People thought he had lost his mind, and, in a way, they were right. Karim knew deep down that he would never heal. The experiment was not just a scientific test, it was an eternal curse. And the more he tried to escape his past, the more he found himself returning to that terrifying moment that had changed his life forever.